Everybody listen to We're Not Wizards, because we are the best, and we're not wizards, no matter what anybody says. Goodbye.
To another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for April. Boom. Coming at you, Cleopatra. Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Crisscross are gonna make you.
They're gonna make you jump around. I've come under a bit of flack, a bit of competition of late, because the kind of the joke used to be the number of podcasts I was releasing, and then during these current interesting times, it's just like, could your podcast be any more relevant now? I'm joined by Ben Maddox, who's now going to spend a considerable amount of time explaining to me why he all of a sudden feels the urge to be releasing podcasts all the time.
You know, so I remember we had a sort of text discussion, and I said to you, you should do all these interviews, but you should parcel them out. Don't release so much material. And I've been doing a daily podcast for the last month because I'm nothing if not a cast iron hypocrite, which is the real pronunciation of the word.
It's amazing how hypocritical you have been, because I was at that point where. And I've never, because people have said to me, Richard, you're a bit heavy on the content here. Sometimes I pick and choose actually what I listen to, because I don't always have time to listen to everybody. So if there's a couple you feels decent, go and tell me. And it's like, right. I cannot tell. I love all my children equally. Then all of a sudden, I've got the same situation with yourself. I'm looking down your feed and I'm going, I'm having difficulty kind of keeping up.
Yeah, but the point is, I made... they're not full shows, so they range between sort of 12 and 20 minutes mostly. And I'm talking to people from the industry, I'm talking to doctors, I'm talking to psychologists, just about, and teachers and that sort of stuff, and supermarket workers about the COVID crisis and about sort of their experiences and what we should do to make their lives easier. And also, sort of, I did a week of FLGS owners just to sort of investigate their plight and how they're feeling and if we can help and all of that sort of stuff. I mean, I can't help by offering any sort of practical help or money or intelligence. What I can do is ask them questions, have them speak, and then release it to people on the internet. Because, frankly, I'm the real hero. I'm the bloke with the Zimmer frame walking around his house and that.
My word.
Uncle Major Tom, or whatever his name is.
Whatever it is, you're just living your life. You're living your heroism vicariously through other people. Because I'm working from home at the moment, so when I'm doing like a mundane task, and this is strange because I've normally used to listen to podcasts on my commute, so I'm now missing out on a couple hours of podcasting. But now, today and yesterday, I was like, I'm going to catch up on some podcasting, and I just decided I'm just going to catch up with as many of yours as I could. So I was listening to Mr. Hughes, and I listened to your one with Mike Barnes, which was thoroughly interesting. I listened to the one with Elizabeth Hargrave as well, and it's interesting. It kind of reassesses for you who the real important people are, because I'm noticing that you're not lining up any billionaire CEOs to talk to.
No hedge fund managers on the show. No.
Nobody like that. Stock exchange people, oil barons, landlords.
None of those. No. Jeff Bezos asked to come on, but I told him to fuck off. He even offered me money, and I said, I'm not taking any of filthy lucre, Jeff. I don't take money from Emperor Palpatine, I said to him. He was correct. He was in tears by the end of the conversation.
His little yellow eyes looked at you and they were all glazed.
Exactly. Goat's eyes. His goat's eyes.
Babe,
let me on the show. No, Jeff, you're the Satan, I said to him.
You gotta wonder if he's even known what his 5 favourite things he would take if there was a doom. He'd probably cause the Doomsday, let's face it. Not being nasty.
His 5 favourite
but,
things are the tears of his warehouse staff, the tears of his administrative staff, the tears of the people who have died in the COVID crisis, tears, just general tears, and also tears from African babies. That's Jeff Bezos' top 5 favourite things. He puts them in suitcases, he takes them around. I mean, very tear-based. He likes to see people cry.
You got to kind of wonder if it was a thing where, and if you'd had them all sitting on the back seat of the car and you went over a bump and everything else got washed away down the river, what would you keep, Jeff? And he'd be like, it's fine, as long as it was a river of tears.
All of the tears are staying in my car. I've got my own private security service. I don't lose a drop of those tears. I rub them into my nipples.
I'm changing the rules. That's what I'm doing, changing the rules, you hear. How are you coping, though?
But it's...
Because...
How am I coping?
You're talking to all these people.
Have you listened to me talk for the last 5 minutes?
Bordering on insanity. But then I'm trying to peel back the onion layers and find out.
You peel back the onion layers and you just see more and more sort of hairballs and stress knots. No, fine, actually, fine. I just wish I could go out, because I have been luckier than most in that my job hasn't been affected, so I've been able to work. The podcast, I've really put myself... the thing is, all of this... I've got all this faux bullshit about being, I'm wanting to highlight those in need during this crisis. That's all fucking disingenuous bollocks, right? I'm doing it because it's stopping me from going nuts, and I'm being able to reach out to people. And, the thing is, people do things. Altruism's a myth. People do things because it makes them feel good. The hope is that the things they do also have a positive benefit. And I think my show, it's small ripples in a huge sea, of course. But I think, I'm sort of chronicling the times. But in terms of how I'm doing, I'm reading. I've started reading books again. I sort of had a moratorium on reading for a while. I'm reading the Wolf Hall trilogy by Hilary Mantel, which is absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend it. I'm running 30 kilometers a week. I'm lifting weights 3 times a week. I'm doing yoga. I decided when this lockdown happened that it would, because, in the immortal words of Oscar Wilde, I can resist everything except tons of booze. And so, people are I'm very easily led, I guess, is the best way to say it. And because I can't see people, I'm able to shut myself away and live a sort of life of monastic non-indulgence. And so I'm going to get svelte and fit and re-enter the world looking like $20.
With loose change everywhere.
Which is about 200 times as much as I look usually.
I'm just wondering, now that you're recording so much, do you realise that you were really only running things at second gear beforehand, and that, you really should have been putting in a bit more effort and you could be releasing podcasts all the time?
Absolutely not, no. I'm this week at the end of this week, I already had to pay extra money for more server space on Libsyn. This week This week's probably the last of the shows for a while, and certainly until the beginning of next month. It's been great, and I've spoken to some really interesting people, and it's been really valuable, but it's a very unique situation, and it's only because it's a unique situation I prefer my usual schedule. I've kind of had to eschew reviewing games because I'm not playing very many, and also, with all of this sort of work I'm doing on the daily podcast, I don't know about you, but I find writing absolutely exhausting, and it's one or the other. So I haven't been writing, which is a shame. So I'll probably go back to writing stuff, and I'll just do a weekly sort of write-up thing. But with the interviews, probably at the end of this week it's done. Especially as the show I'm releasing tomorrow has a 15-minute digression where we discuss whether Yogi Bear is molesting Boo Boo. So all of that goodwill I've built up over the last 3 weeks is gone, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're going to find out that you're probably, certain people are going to stop retweeting the episodes.
Yeah.
That you had them picked.
I mean, I found out earlier that Twitter's biggest activist, probably the person who does the most good on Twitter, has blocked me recently. Yeah. I'm absolutely gutted.
Really?
She is a tireless warrior for good. She doesn't exploit people, and she's not an arsehole.
Yes.
And her blocking me was a real wrench. And I'm doing this for her in the hope that I can be allowed back in. But I was born the way I was, so it's unlikely.
You've always been a little bit edgy. So I mean, I always thought you were kind of skirting around the edge. And I must admit, I mean, a couple of times, when you get that example set for you, when the call is issued that, these people you need to keep an eye on, you should even maybe, get your finger hovering above the block button in case I command you to block people. That, you have always been, I think, kind of a borderline case. I think you've always been in the slight red file.
I am in the slight red file. I mean, because of my erstwhile partner who decided to tell the internet I was a Nazi. People are always kind of waiting. People are always waiting for that sort of Nazi side of me to materialise. The fact that he's he's a born liar and it was a complete fabrication means that I'm not likely to out myself as a Nazi anytime soon. But it was so interesting speaking to you just before we started to record, because one thing that I've stopped doing is Twitter. And I tweet when I've got shows coming out and all of this sort of stuff, but I don't engage with Twitter anymore. And you were telling me the tales of what's going on in the Twitterverse, and frankly, it's all
insane. The drama, yeah.
And frankly, I find myself much better out of it, and I don't think my show has suffered in terms of engagement, and I've certainly improved a great deal by not engaging with these absolute morons on Twitter. My God, did you see the? I think peak idiot. I think Twitter hit peak idiot about 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago, a month ago.
Right.
Where there was an Asian woman on Twitter claiming that cis white people were culturally appropriating Asian people by wearing face masks, because Asian people have been wearing face masks for decades. And this is, as the COVID crisis is exploding and people are buying face masks, right? And it's just the craziest, insane shit. That all you have to do is you have to say a couple of sort of checkbox phrases like cultural appropriation and cis white male, and people will applaud you from the hills. And it really is, Twitter is eating itself. And what's so amazing is when you get off Twitter and you stop engaging with that idiocy and you just speak to people, you find, oh wow, 99% of people just aren't concerned with this absurd shit. Sure, there's injustice in the world, but Christ. And if your activism is that Board Game Geek is an elitist millionaires play palace that people can't vote because they have to use Geek Gold to vote, and that is denying the poor, then you're fighting for the wrong thing. You're fighting for the fucking wrong thing, right?
There's certain things I've just, because you go like, oh yeah, I'm trundling along, and you trundle along, and you're kind of, you're not staying in your lane, but you're just like, I'm going to chat to this person, and that's fun, and I'm going to interact with this person, and I'll try and say something stupid, and, you know, that was fun, and let's all have a laugh. And then all of a sudden, I'm kind of sucked into something completely different, and I'm just like, do you know what? Fuck off, really? Because I've had enough. You know, and it's like, I don't know, I know the number of people that are kind of like, they're actively kind of saying, oh, you better not say that on Twitter, because, you know, and you're just like, what? When did we get to this? When did we get to this point?
You know what Twitter's big problem is, right? It started off, when it became a sort of viable thing, because it was this weird thing. When it first started and I first got an account, I thought, what the hell is this? It's just this weird place where you just post a Facebook status, except it's really short, it's weird. But it came into its own in a really dignified manner, right? So it came into its own during the Arab Spring, and, you know, people using Twitter on Tahrir Square to highlight the injustice and the brutality of the state. And so Twitter got given this patina of kind of respectability, and it got given this patina of this is where activism happened. But what's happened is it's been overtaken by a load of middle-class Americans with fuck all else to do but shout about their own particular problems. And if you look at what people basically are moaning about, it is very, very small sections of the middle-class population who want more benefits, and they claim it's not, but it clearly is, right? And Twitter is the most middle-class fucking place on the planet, and middle-class people are nothing but self-flagellating, right?
Do you find it's helped your mental health? I mean, being away from it, do you kind of I mean, because it's so easy. I mean, you can step away from the drama, and then you're like, oh, what's happened now? And you get checked and you get involved and you're just like, oh, for goodness sake. And then it's having that self-taking, I don't want to, because I know of people who never get involved in, you never see them kind of, they just trundle along, they're doing fine, they never ever get involved in any type of drama or anything like that, or what people would call drama in fucking inverted commas, and they just trundle along and they do fine. And then there seems to be other people that's all they get. Every single time. The thing is, they walk into the drama room and they say, "Can I have some drama, please?"
People like it. People want to get on Twitter. The thing is, has it improved my mental health? Look, there are things that affect my mental health. I've been through phases of, you know, I've been in very dark places in my life, and things that affect my mental health are loved ones dying, having no money, not really knowing whether my accommodation is going to be my accommodation in a month. You know, that sort of stuff. That's the sort of stuff that has affected my mental health. Going on Twitter just fucking annoys me. And, you know, I think that we need to put things in perspective. And people calling you... The thing is, if people call you bad names on Twitter, get off Twitter. And don't claim that it's necessary for your job, because unless you work at Twitter, it isn't. So, you know, if people are calling you... And I think it's completely terrible that people are bullied on Twitter. And I think one of the people who claims to be bullied is an incredible bully herself. And, you know, I think it's terrible that people are bullied on Twitter. But if you're being bullied on Twitter, get off Twitter. If it really is affecting your mental health, which I doubt, because I think people's mental health is affected by serious existential things, but if it is, get off Twitter. You don't need it. Am I prone... Has my mental health improved? No. But what has improved is that I don't have 30 minutes every day where I'm going, what the fuck? Are you insane? That doesn't exist anymore. So that's an improvement for sure.
Does it put you back in control of your own emotional state? Because I know that I know it's very, very... Do you know what? I know this for a fact. It's like one of the other things that that Trump's a dream for Twitter. Because right up until... Because we had Gamergate and stuff like that, and that kind of really started. You know, there was the polarization of two sides and stuff like that. But Twitter itself was failing in terms of interaction and stuff like that. And then, Trump came along, and then all of a sudden Twitter's got a reason for existing. And I find sometimes that no matter what you do to try and avoid what you would see as something that would make you rant and rave, is that it's always there, that it's almost a case that it's going to be fed to you no matter what. It's something that you can't kind of escape from. And I guess and I'm wondering if some people use it differently from other people, that they just seem to be able to get on by. I probably blame myself, because I am a person that gets riled up, and I am a ranter and a raver, and I am the type of person that'll, Boris Johnson being on telly or someone else talking about how this is all going to be fine, and I'm just going, fuck off.
Hey, look. And
I say that to the TV, and I'm that kind of reactionary person. I know other people, they'll just let it kind of brush off them like water off a duck's back.
Look, getting pissed off because Boris Johnson is basically condemning working class people over 60 to death is something worth getting annoyed about, right?
Yeah.
Someone calls your hair someone says your dyed hair is a stupid colour on Twitter isn't. This whole idea that the Board Game Geek is this cis white male hegemony and board game media is this cis white male hegemony. Fucking people are dying in their thousands. The world is heading towards ecological collapse. If you really gave a shit, if you weren't just navel gazing and just completely self-obsessed, you would maybe go after things that are important, not things that aren't. If I want to bring it back to my show,
yeah.
I think we live in a macro world and a micro world, and and the micro happenings are important to particular people, but fundamentally they don't mean shit. And I've spoken to Mike, who works in a supermarket, for instance, because that's important. If you're talking about mental health, I mean, imagine the fucking stress of putting yourself in contact with something potentially fatal every day to bring us our broccoli and our frozen chips, right? All of this Twitter bullshit is insignificant. All of these people arguing pedantic points and getting faux offended, because that's all it is faux offence. Faux offended over someone saying something wrong is fundamentally pointless, and Twitter exists on that. But people want to be seen. People want easy victories. People want to go on Twitter and have an easy victory, and exploiting people's politeness is what mostly these people do. So the other day there was the publishers who do Teotihuacan.
Yeah.
Did this sort of game, you know that thing they do on Facebook, where it's like choose a letter from column A, a letter from column B, and a letter from column C, and that is your pedigree dog name or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And they were doing this thing with Teotihuacan and the expansion, and they chose like sort of prefixes and suffixes from sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of Aztec, Central American ancient languages, right? And they said, choose your Aztec name or whatever. And so some fucking twat got on Twitter and went, you are exploiting ancient cultures and names. You should be ashamed. And of course this company went, oh Christ, I'm really sorry. Oh, we'll take the tweet down. And
yeah.
No one's bothered. No one's fucking bothered, except this person wants to just prove how fucking great they are. And they say they're rewriting the script, but it's fucking bullshit. All it is self-advertising. And the beauty is, the only thing that's good is they're advertising to 3 fucking people. They're being applauded by 3 fucking people. And there are people on Twitter who are bullies. The thing is, there are toxic people, and there are people who are genuinely nice, but there are toxic people who decided, and they talk about gatekeeping and all of this, and they are the ultimate gatekeepers because they decide, they inflict the purity tests on people in the hobby, and if you fail these purity tests, you are not allowed to engage, right? Which I think is absolutely insane. and especially if you make a mistake or you misconstrue something, and then you are forever branded by this. And it's a bunch of people. I don't know. Are they unhappy? Their path to hell is paved with good intentions, right? And there are malign people exactly. who will exploit good-natured people to this end. And she is clearly a malign person who is exploiting a lot of good-natured and slightly gullible people to whatever end she wants, I think.
A question in relation to tabletop itself. Because I played for the first time last week. I played a tabletop simulator game. I was... which was delightful, and it was actually good fun, and for the fact it was in like some kind of virtual theatre, it was comparatively good fun. They're talking about, obviously, the lockdowns kind of easing up. In fact, I think in Germany itself, they're starting to allow kind of retail premises to open up as long as they're, people are wearing protective clothing.
It's very curtailed,
masks
but it's
and stuff like that, Yeah, it's starting to open up. But I'm just wondering, how long is it going to be before people can kind of get round the table again, and how's that going to kind of affect kind of coverage? Because you yourself said it's very, very difficult to review games. I'm lucky that the games that I have been asked to look at and review are kids games, so I can sit down with my son. Coiled Spring have luckily sent me a couple of good nice kids games that I've been able to play, and so I'll be able to write or create some content for them. But then I've got like another couple of games which there's very little chance of me being able to sit down and get a kind of like a full game or get something played out of them. And I'm just wondering, with you, are you going to reassess? I mean, if this continues on, and it's going to be a while before they allow everybody together playing games and stuff like that, are you going to reassess the review side of things? Are you going to reassess... Because the show, I think you could still do the show, because I think there's tons of designer developers who you could interview and would have an amazing perspective. But at the same time, is the review stuff, you're just going to have to say, well, I'm just going to have to leave that as is until it kind of sorts itself out.
It is what it is, right? I mean, I constantly reassess the show and my desire to do it and all of this on a daily basis. I mean, I think...
And where are you with it just now, though? I mean, are you still... Because last time we spoke, I mean, you sounded like, the both of us were kind of in an assessment situation, and I've given myself another kind of 6 months. And now you were sounding like, well, I'm not, and where things were, you weren't entirely happy. I mean, is that mindset kind of change? I mean, something must have changed, because you've just spent the last couple of weeks recording every single day.
Well, it was interesting. So if you'd have asked me 2 weeks ago, I'd made my plan 2 weeks ago. And my plan was to... And this might just have been... this might just have been the direction the wind was blowing at that time. But my plan was to do shows for the COVID thing, release the interviews that I'd already banked, and then quit.
Yeah?
Yeah, just because I felt that I was getting into a rut. I felt that my listeners were getting into a rut, and I felt that kind of none of us were getting anything out of this anymore. But this is all, because I'm a performer, this is all to do with people's reaction, right? And so now I'm in a place where I feel better. People have been very nice. People have been very complimentary. And I'm nothing if not an oversensitive idiot. I've done, it's really difficult, because the point is, it would be no question if I was making more money. And that sounds terribly mercenary and stuff, but you don't do things for free. But I can't get away from the fact that the podcast, what podcasting has given me is a gateway to people in this community, right?
Yeah.
It has given me a connection to people like you, to people like Dan, to people like Tony Boydell, to people in the States, friends I've got who I've never met, And so it's super positive for that. Where I am at the moment is I feel pretty good about the show, but that could change from day to day. It's just, if I was making 5 times the amount that I'm making now, it would be no question. But fundamentally, it is work at the end of the day. I consider it work. I don't consider it a hobby, That was a terrible answer, and I didn't really answer your question.
No, I mean, it's assessing where you are and where you want to be. And I'm the same. I'm thinking of in all honesty, it's kind of like you end up getting caught along in the train to think, and we've had this discussion before, is it time to say goodbye and finish on a nice strong finish, and then everybody can look back and say, look, there's a body of work, and I can congratulate myself. But I've always done this, Ben. I've always been the type of person who would stop something before I teeter on to the point where I'm kind of like, I need to stop this because this is turning into a bit of a chore. And the issue that I've got is that I could be like 5 minutes before I speak to you tonight going, do you know what, maybe I should just, go and have a seat and sit down and just reconsider what I'm doing. But as soon as we get talking, and as soon as I was talking, I'm talking to you, or I'm talking to, I had the delight of speaking to David Turtsey the other night. And it was so funny, I ended up not doing an intro because it was kind of straight into a kind of a really good, just fun, relaxed kind of conversation. I was like, oh, bugger, I've messed up the format again. And, and then you get into that and you realise, well, the reason I'm doing this is because I really, really enjoy talking to people. And then it's like, well, does it have to be about board games? Should I do something different? Should I bugger off for 6 months and then come back and say, now here's our new exciting show where I get just to talk to anybody at all and forget about the premise that it's about kind of board. I mean, I was speaking to, we just launched a show with Stephanie Jessup, who does... she does ASL videos,
okay.
American Sign Language videos, and she does some work for Rodney and stuff like that. But it was just a fascinating chat about the subject. And I was like, well, why does it have to revolve around board games? Could it be speaking to anybody else? And I've seen the kind of the interview. The other thing is the interview shows are picking up. And I'll be honest with you, people are not consuming as much content as they used to. And also, I'm at a level where I was expecting to be, not further along. I'm kind of happy with the level that I am, but then I'm thinking, well, do I just stop now before I start to get frustrated?
It's one of those difficult. It's one of those difficult things because I'm a bit of an asshole, right? And I think I do a really good job. And I think I'm criminally undervalued for the job I do, which sounds terribly vain. It sounds awfully vain, but nevertheless, it is true. And, mentioning no names, but there are people who I see in this board game world who do incredibly well, and I don't begrudge them that. I just think I should be doing that well, and that's my fundamental problem. I have kind of no issue with the work. There are parts of it I enjoy, parts of it I don't. I was trying to think about when, 2 weeks ago, when I decided to quit doing the show.
Mm-hmm.
I decided I was going to write a piece, and I was going to try and explain why I was quitting. And I came up with this idea of, sometimes you go to a party and it takes you a while to realise no one wants you at the party. But the minute you realise that, the best thing to do is leave. Mm-hmm. And, I've been doing this show for 2 years and a couple of months now, and I'm nowhere near where I wish I was. And I wonder whether people want me at the party. I guess that's the thing, because I don't want to be at a party where people don't want me.
Yeah, I totally see that. Of course, I totally see that. I think a lot of people, see that. I think you get to a level you're measuring yourself, and I think that you then get disappointed at where you are, and then you start to wonder, well, you see other people at the same stage or at the same place, and you seem to say, well, are they doing... They look like they're doing better than what I am. And yeah, you're right. Sometimes you end up asking the question, is it me? I'm sitting here thinking, we're having a good conversation, actually, and everything's fun. But am I fundamentally really annoying? And am I really good? And am I getting lots and lots of different guests because they all have something that they want to talk about? And I've turned into Graham Norton on a fucking Friday night where I've got the guests coming in to pitch their latest project to me, instead of just having a natter. And then for a while I've tried to force it down a different conversation where we have a chat about, people in general and stuff like that. But then you have to wonder am I not having this eureka type moment because fundamentally I've not gonna have that eureka moment?
Yeah, and I mean, it's I haven't written fiction really for a couple of years. And that's because I've been really doing this intensively for a couple of years. And so, part of me thinks, I mean, I've earned more money doing this than I have writing fiction, but I'm like, should I go back to writing? The thing is, creating... the problem we suffer from, we create things alone. Yeah. And so there is no back and forth between us and a partner. There's no reinforcement. There's no one that we get to look at as we're creating and go, yeah, that was good. And so our attitudes towards the stuff we produce is utterly dependent on how we're feeling. And it might be nothing to do with the stuff we produce. But, so the nomination. The thing is, I'm a real petulant child at times, and it's really regrettable, but I am. So the nominations for the BGG Golden Geek Awards came out this week, and I got in last year, and I was fairly confident I was going to be nominated this year. I mean, I absolutely know I'm not going to win, but I was fully prepared to throw my dummy out of the pram had I not made the nominations. I was fully prepared to bin the whole podcast. And that's just nuts, right? And that's just because when you create stuff, you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable place. And you take the hurts harder, I think, if you're working for yourself, right?
Yeah, and it's difficult to measure stuff as well. It's like you can never ever measure, because it's like the amount of effort and things like that when you feel, I nailed it this time and this went really, really well, and then you'll present it to the king, the audience, and they're like, actually I was wanting chicken. You're just like, yeah, but I've literally have spent hours, days, time presenting this to you, and you kind of want something, else. You're just like, well, I can't measure it. And you're right. If you've got like and this is one of my always regrets, is kind of there not being more episodes with Colin, who I used to record with, because time gets in the way and stuff like that as well. But it's always nice to go on one of these journeys where you've got somebody else that you can say, whoa, look at this, and they've generally got in as much invested in it as you. And also, so when things aren't going as well or have been going fantastically well, you can pat each other on the back, or you can commiserate, or somebody gives you a fucking reality check as well at the same time. Do you know what I mean? So somebody just sits you down going, look, why are you being so stupid about this? Stop being so bloody stupid about it. I just want to quit. Why you want to quit? Look at where we are. Look at what we're doing. That kind of thing. And it is difficult because you do end up kind of without somebody cajoling you or bigging you up or grounding you or telling you to stop being stupid or telling you, or you are being stupid. you end up measuring yourself against other people, and you can only ever fall out short with that because you're imagining something completely differently to what they're probably thinking anyway.
Right.
Which is, the route to madness.
It is. But again, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's one of those things that if I was making $2,000 a month, frankly, I would care a lot less. I would be a lot more. I think I'm very enthusiastic about the job I do, but there would be a lot less soul searching, I guess. And like it or not, money is often an indicator of maybe not quality, but people's perception of your quality, right? And I never went into this project feeling that this is just going to be a nice hobby. I went into this project saying, this is my best shot at it being a job. And I sometimes wonder, and this is the point, right? That I think, well, what if the big upshot is just around the corner and I quit now and I miss it? And then, that would be terrible.
Yeah. There is always that what if, isn't it? It's awful. It's like that regret thing. I wish I'd kind of stuck with that, or I wish I'd given it another couple of 6 months. But then if my view of that is if your mindset's in that particular place, I don't think necessarily the big thing's going to happen for you because your mindset's already in that place, if you know what I mean.
Right.
As in, you can't expect everything to turn gold and rainbows just because things just now aren't as good as they could be, but they're always better than you think they are anyway. I mean, let's face it, we're sitting here and you've just been nominated for a BGG Podcast of the Whatever award, and I was sitting there going, I know, and for someone like I'm sitting there going, that's really great, and it's like I know most of the people on that list, and pretty much 50% of them have all guested on the bloody show as well.
Right.
Kind of thing. So it's nice to have that connection with people. I know I'm never going to be nominated for that because I've not got the community around me. That's not how I kind of work. I've not got the community that you've got with your stuff, not got the community that the Board Game Barrage you've put together, or Sporadically Bored, or anyone like that, So Very Wrong. They've got people that are there, and I kind of feel that I've not fostered that community, just for the simple fact is that I want to be able to maybe walk away.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I mean, the point
There's
is
investment with that.
The point is, no one gives a fuck, fundamentally. I mean, it was so interesting.
No, exactly.
When Perfect Information exploded, it got more of a reaction than I expected. With people going, oh my God, we didn't see that coming. And then people going, oh my God, that's so depressing that the show's over. I mean, actually, very few people being nasty to me, very few people being nasty to Georgios. But still, a week later, no one gave a shit. Because these things are ephemeral. And I mean, the beauty is that what you've done, there is a permanent record of it, right? So even if you quit tomorrow, I mean, I've got a body of work that's excellent, I think. And so have you.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I would like to if I walk away from this show, I would like to walk away not feeling bitter. I would like to walk away because my life has got to a point where I'm successful enough that I don't have the time to channel my creativity into this anymore because I'm channeling my creativity into something else, right?
What would you do if you're doing... I mean, you mentioned writing. Is that what you jump into?
Well, I'm an actor, right?
Would you sit there and do it?
So I'm doing a show, if the theatres reopen, I'm doing a show in autumn.
Yeah.
First show for a while. And, if I got a proper acting job, well, probably the podcast would cease to be a thing just because, you need to channel yourself into that. But at the same time, and this sounds like I'm being terribly crass, but, 'twas ever thus. The podcast doesn't get binned when it becomes financially viable. It's just a fact, right? And I think it's a weird situation in that there are your top tier, and I don't necessarily mean quality when I say this, although that sounds like I'm being bitchy. I don't mean it that way, but your top tier sort of producers in this arena, your Dice Tower, you Shut Up and Sit Down, your Secret Cabal, you Watch It Played, and your Rado, and to some extent, I guess, Heavy Cardboard. And it's really a dead man's shoes thing, right?
Yeah.
Because it's very hard to replace these people or get onto that tier. And I mean, especially kind of my show, I should be world famous, and I'm going to start killing people until that becomes a reality.
Oh dear. Oh dear indeed. That was
one
like
question. That was one question you asked me.
That actually
so
sounds
how are
like
you going with the show?
way.
And that was the last 25 minutes.
That was the entire answer, which is absolutely fantastic.
But actually, I'm really loving doing the show at the moment. I'm really loving talking to the people, and I'm really loving the reaction I'm getting. And yeah, I feel invigorated about the show in a way that I haven't been for a while, and I think that's good.
Which is what you want, which is one of the reasons a lot of people get. And you fundamentally, you can look at it and say, well, it's a way to make money, but also there's also the way that there has to be some kind of enjoyment there at the same time, which is the main thing.
Well, money gets you out of bed in the morning, right? And money, this is the thing. I'm a professional performer, and the point is, if you're being paid to do it, your attitude towards it is completely inconsequential. It's just the job you do. That's the important part, right? People are always amazed with some footballers that they don't really like football very much. And it's like, well, no, but I'm really good at it, and it's my job, and it makes me a lot of money. So if I play well, does it matter whether I like playing football or not? And there's this sort of romantic, naive notion that to be really good at something, you've got to really love it, which I think is absolute hogwash. Marlon Brando was the best actor of the 20th century and detested acting, absolutely detested it with a passion. You do your job, and I have the luxury of moaning about my job when I'm talking about my podcast. I have the luxury of moaning about it because I'm not being paid very much to do it. So, I can moan about that. As soon as it becomes a viable actual job, my views and my annoyances at editing my podcast should not be for public consumption. That should be behind the door,
Yeah, no, I get that. I totally get that. And
the money pays for my enthusiasm, it pays for my professionalism, and it pays for me doing a good job, because that's what being a professional is.
It's almost like you're acting the role,
indeed, darling.
Out of the interviews that you've done, and I've mentioned a couple of names anyway, but is there any ones that you've is there any? No, not that you've enjoyed, but is there any that have surprised you in the way that they have been dealing with the current situation? With the people that you have spoken to over the last couple of weeks that you've kind of went, oh, I expected a different response to that.
So I interviewed Luke Pryor.
Lovely Luke. Met Luke.
At Aircon.
No, he was at Aircon. I also met him. Yeah,
at Gearstones
late last year as well.
Yeah, everyone talks about bloody last year's Gearstones, which seems to be the conclave of angels. Just because I bloody missed it.
See, that's why I didn't want to bring it up, because I didn't meet him at Aircon, but I didn't know him as well, and I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna drop in the G word here. And he's not gonna like it, but he cooked chicken, which was nice.
Well, fundamentally, I didn't get to go to Aircon because an unexploded Second World War bomb was found at the airport the day and so I assume it was a British unexploded Second World War bomb. So actually, when you think about it, it was my fault. So, not an issue.
There you go.
But I interviewed Luke Pryor, and it wasn't that his answer, it's that he would give this answer. Because I think, when we're speaking in public, we're trying to make the right impression. And I said to Luke, before we started recording, I said to him, so how are you dealing with the lockdown then? And he said, I think it's bloody fantastic. And he elaborated on the show that what he meant was it was great. He got to spend time with his wife and he got to spend time with his kids, time that he wouldn't spend before, and that they're becoming closer, and it's really valuable time spent valuably, right? And that wasn't the surprising thing. It was just the fact that he gave voice to those thoughts that I was surprised by, because I think we're supposed to wring our hands and say this is terrible. And I think... So I was on Facebook today and someone had put up a post saying being comfortable in the lockdown is class privilege. And while I don't disagree with the statement, I think no question it is. I'm not entirely sure what I'm supposed to do with that. You being snotty with me because I happen to have a job that I can work from home. I don't know why I should feel shit about that. I think there are things we can do, and the point is there are things we can do, but I think I've been talking to a lot of people about this recently because of the NHS and stuff. I think actually the greatest activism we can do in our society is pay our fucking tax. Because it is tax that provides public services. It is tax that provides doctors and nurses and the infrastructure to get our food to supermarkets. So actually, for all of this, I go on Twitter and post fucking memes. Pay our taxes and not moan about it. And vote for the party that is honest and says, no, we want to tax you because we want to redistribute the wealth. That's the greatest activism you can do, right? And so I forgot the question.
It doesn't matter. There is no there's been questions.
Right.
They even sound like I have questions.
Oh, yeah. So it was this point that we're all supposed to beat our breast and say how terrible it is. And, I have moments where this lockdown is actually great, where I get to sit on the balcony and read Hilary Mantel and drink a cup of tea. And, I've decided to turn my life around sort of physically, and I'm being really healthy and I'm eating healthy food and I'm going running and all of this sort of stuff. And there are moments where I just think, God, I want to get out of the house and I want to see my friends and I want to go to the pub and I want to have a pint. And none of them in the grand scheme of things are huge issues. I mean, I have a friend who lives around the corner who's immunocompromised. And he hasn't left the house for 3 months. When this thing started, before the lockdown, he just said, I can't go out. Because if I go out, I might fucking die. And I'm doing his shopping and stuff for him because he can't get out the house. That's a real problem. Yeah. And so I suppose there's this feeling that we shouldn't give voice to contentment and happiness because we're somehow waving it in people's faces. But at the same time, what do you expect me to do? You ask me a question, I answer it. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Being content in the lockdown is a class privilege. But I come from a working class family on a council estate and we never had any money. I did work. I did work to be comfortable in the lockdown, I guess.
And I reckon there's a lot of people currently surprised by the kind of I've seen it repeated again in so many places and times and being like, there's a surprise. It turns out that actually, yes, we could do our work from home. Yes, we didn't have to do a commute. Yes, we can actually get paid like a decent wage. Yes, our health service can kind of get funded, and no, we kind of, it turns out that CEOs and billionaires are absolutely bloody pointless kind of thing. And kind of what's interesting, the most interesting thing was what's happened kind of like in the last couple of days, which is the oil prices have fallen through the floor because the only thing that seems to be keeping the oil market running is people moving about. And it turns out that when you stop that, then it's obviously a huge false. It's a false economy in more ways than one, which is absolutely. It's fascinating to me that they're actually saying we have to come to some kind of agreement to make sure that our billionaire oil barons don't suffer. And I'm just like, well, you've had a good 60 years of it. Sorry, kind of thing.
Yeah,
time to sort yourself out.
You know. It's one of those things, isn't it? I mean, I wouldn't want to work from home permanently simply because I like being out in the world and seeing people, and I think it's very valuable. I think what I hope, my episode with Tony Boydell came out the other day, and in Britain, I haven't been there, but in Britain, people have been going outside and clapping for the NHS. And we're all hypocrites. So you voted Tory and you're clapping for the NHS. Fine, just don't vote Tory next election, right? But he's saying that people are coming out and they're talking to each other across the road, going, "Oh, how are you doing?" And one thing that this sort of march towards automation and the internet and all of this and on-demand TV is, it feels like community is broken down to some degree. And I wonder whether, if a big raft of home office happens, whether that might exacerbate that issue, that we become more cut off and more atomised. Because I think a healthy society demands that we mix with people we don't choose to mix with, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
and that's what The Office does. I think people's views are moderated. This is why Twitter is so rampant, because people's views are moderated and kept in check by being around people who don't agree with them and having to defend your point. The problem with Twitter is that you don't have to defend your point. You either are blocked or not, or you're applauded or derided. There's no conversation. And I think working from home would be wonderful, as long as that sort of community thing was replaced by, sitting around. If neighbours started talking again and local communities started getting together again and people go to pubs and chat with people who aren't their chosen friend group, because part of the atomization of our society is that we've just camped in our living rooms on our iPads and we haven't spoken to the people down the street, and I think it's really dangerous, right?
Yeah. Wrapping up, because I'm conscious.
I was going to start rapping then, and I thought that was an awful joke, and so I didn't do it.
I would just generally not. I would potentially, it's two sides of things. It's not something I really want to hear, but it's also potentially something I would pay money to actually see you rap. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. You've got a range, as we say, you've got a range of kind of various chats, interviews from kind of isolation, from the voice from the solitude. Where can people, if people want to listen to those, and they're fantastic, just go ahead and listen to the award nominated five games for Doomsday. Where would they find you if they wanted to find you, Ben?
So you can go to the website, 5gamesfordoomsday.com. You can look at me on Twitter at 5gamesfordoomsday. That's it. You can even send me an email if you want to, and that's 5gamesfordoomsday@gmail.com. I've doxed myself there. Did you notice that?
Fucking hell.
I think
if you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, first of all, check out Ben's show, because that's a good thing. But if you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, just go to the internets and search for We're Not Wizards, and you'll find us there. And that's kind of simple.
Yeah. And get a BGG and vote for my podcast. I promise, if I win the BGG award, I'll go away.
Well, I don't think you can find a better reason for voting for 5 Games for Doomsday for that reason alone.
Absolutely.
Thank you very, very much for coming on, Ben. It's always interesting.
It's always very introvert. What's the word I'm looking for? We always examine our souls when we get together, Richard.
And we're definitely examining our souls, as I would say. Do you want to say goodbye, Ben?
Goodbye, Ben.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, stay home, roll sixes, make something awful. But until the next time,
I can't believe you've got all these catchphrases. I need a catchphrase.
I don't know. I'm not going to invent a catchphrase for you.
Lick my Chonson. What do you think?
Fantastic. Cut.
A wizard is never licked. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.